Angel Foot Massage Company video on how to calculate past year's 1099. Well, it's very simple. You need Microsoft Excel. Okay? Now, at the bottom of a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet are the tabs that control the different sheets. So if we look down here at the bottom of the screen in Excel, we notice that there are different sheets in Excel, and you should rename these sheets, and at the top of each sheet you should put the worker's name, address, social or EIN number. So you would right click on the first sheet and you would click rename and you would put Joe Smith. Good. And then you would right click on the tab of the second sheet and you would rename it Mary Jane Watson. Okay, and then you would right click on the third sheet and you would rename it Alan Arby, etc. If you need to insert a new sheet, you would click right here on this little symbol here, and that will create a new sheet and leave the create new sheet bumped to the right of it. So again, you just click on this thing to the right, it creates a new sheet. Then you would right click on the tab and you would rename that tab to Betty Boop or whatever. And that's how you rename the tabs. Then you would click back on Joe Smith's tab, and in the sheet for Joe Smith, you would type in name and address and so on. Name, address, social security or EIN number. And that information, the name, address, and social, you should really type it on the top of the spreadsheet, which I'll show you in a moment. Now what you really want to do is type this into the top. So you can click once into the field, click and drag to select the field, then move the mouse to the border till it becomes the move tool, the 4 arrows, and then click and drag it to the top. And that would be the name and address of Joe. So over here I'm just going to type Joe. Okay. Now you notice if I come down and I choose a different tab that the name and address looks like it disappeared. It did not disappear. You're simply looking at a different page in the sheet. And then you would type again name and you would put Mary. And then you would type in social security / EIN, and then you would type in whatever her number is, whether it be a social or an EIN. Then of course you'd go down and you'd click the next worker. See, but if I click back to Joe, I see that that's Joe over here. If I click on Mary's tab, I see that's Mary over here. If I click on Albert, I see that's Albert over here, etc., etc., etc. Now, the rest is very simple. Here's how you label the columns. Check number. In order to save in the field, hit enter. You might want to make the sheet a little wider by clicking and dragging here. Click and drag here, make the columns a little bit wider. And to tell you the truth, for each worker, you only need 4 columns. You need check number, you need the date, and you need basically only 3 columns. Check number, date, and amount. Oops, excuse me. Amount. Hit enter. And that's how you do it. I'm going to make these underlined. I'm going to click and drag across these cells, and I'm going to hit the underline button, maybe even bold, maybe even make them a little bigger so that you can see, maybe even center them, because you can see that's the title. And you can see these controls are the same as the common controls in Microsoft Word. Now it's just a matter of typing everything in. Check number. Click over here where it says check number. Check number 34. What was the date? January 12th. What was the amount? 700. Hit enter. Use the arrow keys to move the cursor to another field, or click the mouse pointer into the other field so the cursor will come. Check number 45. That was on January 19th. Hit enter. Use the cursor. That was 750. Hit enter. Okay, keep doing this. Next week we gave Joe check number 56. Hit enter. Use the arrow keys to move the cursor over. The next check was January 25th. Hit the enter key. Good. Move the cursor to the amount field with the arrow key. That check was only $6.60. Hit enter. We're just going to do a couple more. The next check number was check number 72. Hit enter. The date was February 4th. Hit enter. The amount was $550. Hit enter. We'll do one more or two more. Okay. Check number 88. Okay, that was February 17th. Hit enter. Move the arrow keys to move it over. That was $800. Hit enter, etc., etc. Now, keep going. Enter. February 25th. Whatever. Hit enter. 770. Good. Now, when you've gotten all the checks in the list for Joe, because we're in the tab of Joe, when you get the total, it's very, very, very simple to do. Make sure that the main menu home tab is selected, because if you select the home tab and go all the way to the right, you see a group in the home tab called editing, right? And then in editing, in the editing group on the ribbon, there's a command called AutoSum, and this is how it works. Click the mouse into the field where you want the sum to show. That should be right under the last number in a column of numbers that you're adding. If the cursor is in the right position, all you have to do is move the mouse to the AutoSum command and click it once. Boom! And the computer will automatically put a formula that adds whatever is immediately above it in the column. Now all you have to do is hit enter, and you now have the total. So we have all of the checks and all of the dates for Joe. So his personal information would be up here. His name, his address, and his social security number or EIN number, depending on what he gave you. Here's his personal information, and here's the total that we paid him. Then you would click at the bottom for Mary and say, here's Mary's personal information, and here's the total we paid her. And that's the only information you need when you want to issue someone a 1099. If you have any questions, give me a call.